On the first of 4 sold-out nights at Chicago's United Center, much of the attention was naturally focused on Nilles. She had taken on what could only be described as an enormous responsibility, occupying the drum seat that for decades belonged to one of the greatest drummers in rock history, Neil Peart. But if there had been any doubts about how Rush's fiercely devoted fan base would respond to a new drummer, that night provided a clear answer. The audience welcomed Nilles enthusiastically, and she repaid that faith with an explosive performance. As Rush fans will know, the band effectively ceased activity following the conclusion of their R40 tour in 2015. One of the main reasons was Neil Peart's decision to retire after decades of playing music that demanded an extraordinary level of physical endurance. Peart wanted to enjoy a quieter life and spend more time with his young family. Sadly, he was not given as much time as anyone would have hoped. Neil Peart died in 2020 at the age of 67 after battling glioblastoma. For Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, losing Peart meant far more than losing a drummer. They had lost a close friend and someone who had been an essential part of Rush's identity for decades. In the aftermath of his death, both Lee and Lifeson suggested that the story of Rush had effectively come to an end. But gradually, their position began to change. One significant moment came when Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson returned to the stage together during tribute concerts, honoring the late Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins. That experience appeared to reopen the possibility of bringing Rush's music back to the stage. Eventually, the 50-something tour was born, a journey that became far more than a reunion or a nostalgic trip through the band's extraordinary catalogue. The tour serves as a celebration of decades of ambitious creativity, while also acting as a heartfelt tribute to Neil Peart. Importantly, Peart's family gave the project their blessing, and at the centre of this new chapter is Anika Nilles. The German drummer, who has a background in jazz, did not join Rush simply to imitate Neil Peart. Instead, she brought her own technical brilliance, personality, and musical identity to the role. Nilles came to Rush following a recommendation from Geddy Lee's bass technician, John Scully McIntosh, who had previously worked with her while she was touring with guitar legend Jeff Beck. From the moment the concert got underway, Nilles' ability was impossible to ignore. On technically demanding material such as the instrumental classic YYZ, she displayed world-class skill. Her playing was fast, precise, and powerful, yet it never felt mechanical. The audience was completely drawn into the performance, with countless fans air drumming along as she tackled some of the famous fills forever associated with Peart. But what made Nilles' performance particularly special was that she was not simply copying what had come before. She respected the structure and character of Rush's music while still bringing something of herself to every song. That was especially evident during sections of the epic 2112 suite and the thunderous encore performance of By Tour and the Snow Dog. When Rush launched into the spirit of radio, Nilles once again demonstrated her ability to navigate the complex rhythmic shifts and changing dynamics that have always defined the band's music. The huge response from the audience made it clear that she had already been embraced as an important part of this new chapter. Her energy also appeared to have a remarkable effect on Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson. Throughout the concert, both musicians seemed to be enjoying themselves enormously. Smiles rarely disappeared from their faces. After racing through the intricate instrumental passages of La Villa Strangiato, Lee even joked about just how much fun the song was to play, suggesting that enjoying themselves that much probably should not even be allowed. The evening began in suitably epic fashion with Xanadu. For the song, Lee and Lifeson once again brought out the iconic double-necked instruments associated with their performances during the 1970s. The current Rush lineup is also strengthened by keyboardist and vocalist Lauren Gold, an experienced touring musician who has previously worked with bands including Chicago and The Who. Gold's presence adds an important new dimension to the performance. His rich analog synthesizer, textures allow Rush's music to retain its enormous sonic depth, while also freeing Geddy Lee from some of the intense multitasking that has long been a trademark of his live performances. With Gold handling more of the keyboard responsibilities, Lee has greater freedom to concentrate on his bass playing and enjoy sharing center stage with Lifeson. Approaching his 73rd birthday, Geddy Lee handled the emotional passages of bravado with genuine tenderness. On Free Will, he even reached some of the song's notoriously challenging high notes with impressive clarity and confidence. Red Sector A provided one of the evening's darkest and most powerful moments. The song remains deeply connected to the traumatic experiences of Lee's parents, who survived Nazi concentration camps during the Second World War. And, of course, Geddy Lee's adventurous bass playing remains one of Rush's greatest attractions. His performance was as nimble as it was muscular on tracks such as Vital Signs and Far Cry. Yet, even though Neil Peart was no longer physically present on stage, his presence could be felt throughout the entire evening. Large screens featured interview clips, photographic montages, and memories of the legendary drummer. There were also lighter moments featuring Jason Segel and Paul Rudd, once again embracing their Rush-obsessed characters from the comedy film I Love You, Man. Geddy Lee also shared personal stories and affectionate memories of his longtime friend and bandmate. When Time Stands Still was performed, the atmosphere became especially moving. The song felt like a reminder that although time inevitably moves forward, the memories of those who played an important role in our lives never truly disappear. The emotional high point of the concert arrived with The Garden from Rush's 2012 album Clockwork Angels. As Lee sang about how the measure of a life can be found in love and respect, Neil Peart's words seemed to carry an entirely new weight. It was almost as if Lee was returning Peart's own words to the man who had written them. Lauren Gold's elegant piano playing and warm vocal harmonies added even greater emotional depth to the performance. The main set eventually came to a close with one of Rush's most iconic songs, Tom Sawyer. Neil Peart himself once admitted that the song never truly became easy to play, no matter how many times he performed it throughout his career. And that complexity was still evident. But what stood out most was not simply how accurately the song was performed. It was the obvious joy shared by the musicians as they played this music together once again. Seeing Rush perform with this level of energy and quality in 2026 feels like an unexpected gift, something many fans probably never imagined they would experience again. The revamped lineup of Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, Anika Nilles, and Lauren Gold has developed an impressive chemistry and a genuine sense of vitality. Anika Nilles has not come into Rush to replace Neil Peart, because someone like Peart simply cannot be replaced. Instead, she has helped open the door for Rush's music to live and breathe on stage once again. 50-something may ultimately remain a celebratory tour and a tribute to everything Rush achieved with Neil Peart. But judging by the energy, chemistry, and sheer enjoyment displayed by these four musicians, it is difficult not to wonder whether this journey really needs to end when the tour is over. The possibility of new music from this combination of musicians would certainly be an exciting prospect for progressive rock fans. Whatever happens next, Rush have shown that honouring the past does not necessarily mean refusing to move forward.